Hello there. Welcome to another episode of the Red Delta Project podcast, your resource for helping you break free of the stressful, dogmatic diet and exercise rat race while helping you get in the best shape of your life on your own terms. Matt Schifferly here, founder of the Red Delta Project and author of the book Fitness Independence. Today's an unusual topic we're addressing today. I've got an email the other day asking me if you needed to get in really good shape within a fairly short period of time, how would you go about it? And this is usually not the strategy that I advocate for most people when it comes to getting in shape. Because as I explain in my book, there are three factors with the results that you can have. You can get big results, you can get easy results, and you can get fast results. All three are possible. The challenge, though, is you can't have all three at once. You can't get big results very quickly, very easily. It's always at the most two at the expense of the other. And usually what I recommend for people is get big results relatively easily, but at the expense of time. In other words, the whole slow and steady wins the race kind of deal. And this has many benefits to it. It allows you to go at a pace that doesn't burn you out. You can adopt habits a lot more proficiently. You can get a lot more used to what's going on. There's less stress on your body, mind, and lifestyle. And it's a lot easier to maintain these habits, therefore also your results as well, because you've been doing it for a while. But as I said, I got an email the other day, someone saying, I need to get in the best shape I can within 3 months for a role, an acting role. And how would I go about it? And I started thinking, that's exactly the opposite of what I would do. But sometimes these situations pop up. It's a wedding that you need to get ready for, or you want to get ready for a high school reunion or a vacation, whatever the case may be. You're like, I can't take this whole slow and steady wins the race kind of pace. I got to make something happen as big as possible, as quickly as possible. What do I do? And that's what we're going to be talking about today with the tips and strategies that I would give you. The first step or tip that I would recommend is make sure you have both a definitive goal, like a deadline, and a definitive goal. And by that, what I mean is don't be like, I want to make this happen within a certain amount of time and by like 3 to 6 weeks or something. No, say like, I need to be in the best shape I can by this specific date. So if you're trying to do it for a wedding, that makes a lot of sense. But even if you were saying, I need to get in shape for summer or something, pick a date, like June 1st or something. That gives you a good mindset that's going to help with these other tips versus having this wishy-washy sort of idea. Second thing along those lines is have a very specific goal. Don't just say, I want to lose weight or I want to build muscle. Say, I want to lose 30 pounds. Say, I want to be able to see my abs. Say, I need to be able to run a 5K in under 25 minutes. You want specificity because doing this sort of thing is going to be very hard for your mind. It's going to be hard on your body as well, but ultimately, your mind is going to want to cave to some degree. It's going to need a very good reason for doing this. And whenever we deal with goals and deadlines that are very vague and out there, it's very easy for us to make excuses and to basically put things off. But when you have a deadline, it's like, I need to make this happen. It's also a lot easier to push yourself when you know there's an end point. It's just like running a marathon or doing a race of some sort. It's like, I know it sucks, but I just have to make it to this end point. And you can kind of use that as a bit of a motivational tool. But if you don't have a definitive end point, it's just like, I'm just going to suffer endlessly. This really sucks. I'm going to pull the plug. So set a very definitive goal and a very definitive end date or a deadline. The second step to doing this is formulate a day-by-day plan, or at least week by week. Don't just say, I'm going to do this diet, or I'm going to do this workout routine. Literally get one of those calendars where you can write in what you do on like a daily planner and write out every day of from now until that end date of what you do. So every day is planned out. Again, the mind loves structure. The mind loves certainty. If it's going along and it's struggling and it doesn't really know why it's doing this or what it needs to do, it's going to be 10 times harder for you to do this. When you have a plan, that gives you direction. But not only does it give you direction, but it also tells you this is all you need to do today. So if you open up your planner and you see this is my workout, these are the very exercises I need to do, these are the sets, these are the reps and everything, that gives you an end point within the actual workout. But it also says you don't need to do more than that. It's very exhausting mentally to have I'll just go to the gym and do whatever. I'll just work really hard. I'll just push myself. Very hard to push yourself to a very good level that way because your mind will give up way before you probably need to. But if you look at it and it says you have to do 100 total push-ups, then you're like, okay, now I have some structure. So plan out, if possible, every single day. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to get it all right. Remember, much of the benefit to having a routine and a plan comes from having a routine or a plan in the first place. It doesn't even have to be a good plan or routine. Chances are it's going to have some changes and adaptations anyway. You don't need to stick to it once it's down on paper. But it's a heck of a lot more beneficial and more effective to change a plan as need be versus to just do things willy-nilly. Make sure you have a plan that you can adjust and change. And by all means, give yourself permission to change it. If you're finding that I can't do this workout style, I just don't have the time, well, fine, then cut it back a little bit. But it's a lot better than saying, I can't do it, I'm just going to skip my workout today. So step 1, goal and deadline. Step 2 is plan. Step 3 is a little bit of a contentious point for good reason. Step 3 is tell others what you're doing. And the reason why this is a bit of a debate is some experts advocate get on social media, tell your friends, your coworkers about what you're trying to do because that gives you social support. It also kind of gets your ego a little bit involved. So you're saying, well, I've told all my friends I'm going to lose this weight. I can't back down. They're all expecting me to make good on my commitment. But at the same time, sometimes telling other people what you're doing can backfire on you. Because not everybody's going to understand your motivations. Not everybody has your priority. If you're like, I want to lose weight, you're inevitably going to have someone around your social circle that doesn't understand why you're doing this. And to some degree, they may even try and talk you out of it. Sometimes our best friends and family can be our worst enemies when we're trying to make better ourselves. It has nothing to do with you, but it can often make people very uncomfortable when you're saying, I'm going to turn this around, I'm going to make this happen. You may be dealing with some individuals who have tried and they haven't worked, so seeing you try and possibly succeed can make them feel very uncomfortable. So even not maliciously, but unconsciously, they'll be like, really? You're gonna give up sweets for 4 months? Don't you want to live? Isn't that not living? Like, that just sucks and so forth. And they may inadvertently try and talk you out of it and wear you down a little. So there's a little bit of back and forth reason to do it or reasons to just keep it private. In this case, when you have a deadline and you are trying to make a lot of change happen in a short period of time, I think it's a good idea to tell other people, even if they don't understand, because that way you're potentially avoiding some of the uncomfortable situations in the future. Like, let's say you go to the movies and you got to really keep your diet on point. And people are like, oh, hey, let's get some candy, let's get some soda and some popcorn and everything like that. You can remind them, no, guys, remember, I've got my wedding coming up. Or remember, I'm doing this because I got a photo shoot or something coming up. At least it's not a surprise, so there's less likely to be some of that backlash of them saying, you don't worry about it. This just live a little. You can do this just one time. Because then you can be like, no, I've got this deadline. Like, literally, I need to be on point every day. Or no, I have my specific planned cheat days where I can loosen up a little bit, or my rest day. This is not my rest day. I need to go and do my workout. I'll see you guys for happy hour afterwards. So at least they understand what you're doing. And people oftentimes are more inspired by commitment than the actual plan in of itself. Plus, once you've got the results and people are asking you like, wow, this is impressive, they'll understand it a lot better. As the old saying goes, at first they ask you why you're doing it, then they will ask you how you did it. So I recommend tell others, especially those who are going to be in your wheelhouse, to give you some social support. You're trying to lose weight, you're trying to build muscle. If you've got friends or coworkers or someone who has done it before, tell them for sure, because they can give you tips, they can give you advice, they can get you through sticking points when your motivation is not as strong. So you want to have some allies in this, and people who are talking like negative about it and trying to derail you, just take that as a grain of salt. Know it has nothing to do with you. It's all about how you're making them uncomfortable. And that's going to be part of the process with this, potentially. I've seen some people make big changes and it's not even an issue. Like everybody's totally on board with them. But I've also seen some people where they're like, yeah, I'm just trying to go to the gym. Like they're not even trying to do anything major. And it seems like everybody's against them. Me personally, when I started to get into fitness, it wasn't so much that people were against me, but back when I was a kid living in Vermont, nobody worked out. Like working out and going to the gym, nobody did that. It'd be like saying, yeah, I practice calculus for fun on a Saturday night. Nobody did it. I would go for a run, like through my neighborhood, and people would literally stop me on the road and be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going for a jog, I'm going for a run. They'd be like, why? That's the weird, what are you, dumb? Like, that's strange. They're like, you got to be an athlete, right? I'm like, no, not really an athlete. And they're like, okay, freak. So I got a lot of that because they just didn't understand. And nobody needs to understand. That's fine. You're not doing it for them. You are doing it for you. All right. Point number 4. Let's move along. Point number 4 is very important, especially when you want to make something happen relatively quick. Get some help. Hire people to help you out. Coaches, trainers, nutritionists, hell, psychologists, therapists, physical or mental, whatever the case may be. Because when we go it alone, no one can accomplish anything very much on their own. If you can get some help with what you're trying to do, it's going to accelerate your ability to get progress a hell of a lot faster than if you did it on your own. No matter how disciplined you are, no matter how smart you are, you still want to have a coach. I mean, the best athletes in the world have coaches for very much this reason. An Olympic athlete, they're like, yeah, I want to compete in an Olympics that are 6 years from now. I need to get me a coach because I'm not going to make it on my own. Now, I recognize that this could be a little bit of an issue for some people. They're like, okay, hire a coach, hire a trainer. Great. That's expensive. Hiring someone to help you isn't cheap from a financial perspective. You could twist it around a little bit and say, actually, it is very cheap because what you're doing is you're trading dollars for time. You could make it happen over 5 years or you can make it happen over 5 months. In a time expenditure scenario, it actually saves you a lot of resources. From a financial perspective, it could be more expensive. So it's really, what do you want? Do you want to save time or do you want to save money? Now, when it comes to getting help, though, there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum of influence. The gold standard of who can help you the most is when you get help from somebody in person. Personal trainers, dietitians that you meet with, chiropractors and physical therapists you're meeting with, sports coaches you physically are in the presence of. That is always going to be by far the most effective way to go about this. Because right now we've got other ways you can learn from people. We've got the internet, we've got books, we got podcasts like this one here and so on. And these are all very good resources too. And this is also a very good way to go about it. However, there's that cost to benefit ratio. This podcast is free. I don't charge anything for it. All you need to do is spend the time to listen to it and download it onto your smartphone or iPod or whatever the case may be. So from a cost perspective, it's very, very cheap. But from an effect standpoint, I'm giving you tips and advice that I'm guessing is going to be good. I'm assuming this is probably going to help you, but without actually meeting you face to face and being able to talk to you and interact with you, there's no possible way I can help you on that level. It's just physically not possible. So the more you're removed from somebody, the less value of help that you can get, but the lower the cost will be. Things like online personal training. One of the reasons why I haven't pulled the trigger and people are like, I want online personal training. Can you train me? I live in, Germany or something like that. And it's like, to be honest with you, I don't really know if I could really be of help with this sort of thing because I'm too far removed. Hell, I struggle to help people sometimes when I'm meeting them 3 times a week face to face. When we're meeting on like a Skype call, like I can't see you work out from the angles I want to see you work out. I can't read the signals that you're giving me during an actual workout. So I'm limited by distance. Nonetheless, though, learn and get help however you can. If it needs to be cheap financially, just do that. Pick up my book, get help from anybody else. Just do what you can. But I would encourage you, since you're in a situation where I need to make as much happen as quickly as possible, don't be stingy. Really kind of spend as much as you can for this one from a financial perspective. Now is not the time to save money if you don't have to, because you're not trying to save money here. You're trying to save time, and one is going to come at the cost of the other. All right, number 5. This is the big one. This is the one that's really got to dial in if you're going to make this happen. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, you can get fast results, big results, or easy results. But what we're opting to do with this is big results fairly quickly. That's going to be very difficult. Make no mistake about this. This is going to be a very challenging time for you. Let's just say it's going to hurt like hell. And this is the mindset you want to adopt. Because when you go into something like this, the more mentally prepared you are to be like, all right, this is going to suck, but I can do this, the easier it's going to be. If you're going into this going like, yeah, this is going to be kind of fun. I'm sure that I've got this. And oftentimes when we start on challenges, we're all full of motivation and fire and piss and vinegar. And we're like, oh, this is going to be great. And after a couple workouts or a few days on the new day, you're like, I feel great. This is going to be easy. That's just the honeymoon period, my friend. That's going to wear off. I promise you. With these challenges, especially ones that are going to be 3-6 months, as much as a year, there are going to be plenty of times when this is going to be the last thing you want to do. You will want to do anything other than do those workouts or stick to that diet. This is going to be very hard, very stressful, and your mind is going to rebel at times. It's natural. It's okay. It's not about weakness. It's not people ask me all the time, my motivation's going down. And what's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong. That's perfectly okay. But know that it's coming. Know that it will come. So when you're forced with that time, when you're laying there in bed and you got to get up and go to the gym and every cell in your body is screaming at you to not do this, and your mind is coming up with excuses left and right why you shouldn't do this, know that, here we are. It's one of these tough days. Okay. And you throw over the covers and you start getting ready. Because often when people skip out on their workouts or they cheat on their diet a lot and stuff, it's when they hit those roadblocks and they think something's got to be wrong. Like, it's not supposed to be this hard. It's not supposed to feel like this. And I'm telling you right now, yes, it is. No, it's going to be like that. No, that's part of the process, because you can get results fast, you can get them big, or you can get easy. You, in this scenario, are choosing to get relatively big results fairly quickly, and you are sacrificing ease. And the more you're trying to accomplish as quickly as possible, the less easy it will be. This is going to hurt like a mother. And the more prepared you are for that, the easier it's going to be, ironically enough, because your mind will be like, yep, here it comes. This is the way it's going to be. Okay. And being able to commit to that and go through that is going to be crucial, because especially when you're on a deadline, you don't have days you can spare. You don't have a whole lot of wiggle room with your diet and stuff that you can say, I'll just lose it this weekend. I'll just fall off the wagon this weekend and skip a few workouts and get back to it on Monday. You don't have 48 hours you can waste on this. You need to stay on point consistently. That's why you may want to have rest periods, cheat days, or a cheat meal broken in to kind of ease off the stress. But the whole point of doing this is to basically see how much you can put yourself through without breaking. And on that line too, also recognize that you may need to take things to a pretty good extreme regarding diet and exercise. A lot of dietary advice, especially from myself or from other people, exercise advice, things in combat conditioning, it's usually more geared towards the whole take it easy, slow and steady wins the race kind of plan. Get results over the course of the next year or two. A lot of advice out there is not geared towards make amazing things happen real fast. And for that to happen, you're going to have to really push down. Like if I come out and say, okay, yeah, 2 sets are all you really need to build muscle. Yeah, and a slow and steady approach. But if you want to make something really radical happen, I'd be like, all right, you're doing 200 push-ups a day. I want at least 100 pull-ups, and I want your diet to be as squeaky clean as possible, like fruits, vegetables, eat to the very minimum amount that you can if you're trying to lose weight and still satisfy your hunger. I mean, you're probably going to need to get outside your comfort zone and do things and be like, really? I have to do that much? I have to be that strict? The answer is yeah. Yeah, this is not going to be coming easy, and it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot for you to do this. Now, with all of that said, all the things I've given you right now will make it easier for you. Because when you're committed and you know those hard times are coming, then it's easier to go through those things. When you are hiring help, they can steer you through those rough patches and the times when you really don't want to do it. I've had people hire me as a trainer purely for that reason. They're like, Matt, I wouldn't come in and work out today unless you were here waiting for me and I knew that you were expecting me to show up for my workout. So that's why oftentimes having help works. That's why you want to tell others to have some social support. That's why you want to have a plan, because it says, well, you open up your day planner and say, this is what I need to do today. If you don't do it that day, you lose. That day is gone. That point of the plan is history. You can't make it up. If you're like, I missed a day, what do? Well, then you do the next day. The day that you missed, nope, can't make it up. It's gone. You have flittered it away. You cannot make it up. You cannot make last ground. You spent 24 hours and you don't get that back. There's no redo on this. You don't get any mulligans in this scenario. And then finally, like I said, having a goal and a deadline, it gives you that finish line. Like when you're running a marathon, you're going for that finish line. Sometimes you're like, I really don't want to keep doing this, but you know there's an end point. And at the end of that, you can finally stop. The last thing I will say, though, is when you have that deadline, when you hit that endpoint, don't fall totally off. See if you can go into a bit more of a maintenance mode with this sort of thing. See if you could say, all right, I had my diet really squeaky clean. I was working out like a madman. I was going crazy. Now it's all over. Don't just totally fall off, because chances are there's going to be another one of these scenarios at some point in your life where you want to be in the best shape you can. If you totally fall off and you gain all the weight back and you lose all your muscle and all your momentum and stuff, it's going to make it even harder next time to get in great shape. This is one of the yo-yo dieting cycles, and this happens with working out too. When you start and stop constantly, you're making it harder to get results on every round. So instead, what I recommend is plan after that deadline. As you're coming up on that deadline, a week or two out, start planning out just the general rules you're going to have. Like, okay, I don't need to plan out every day, but this is my workout that I'm going to follow. That's going to be a little easier. Maybe you cut the volume in half or something. And I'm going to still eat pretty well, but I'm going to have more junk food a little bit every day or something, a couple cookies at lunch or whatever the case may be. Instead of falling way back, you scale back a little bit. And what that's going to do is take you from great to pretty darn good. And when your health and fitness and everything is pretty darn good, now you're within spitting distance of getting insanely great again. And the next time you do it, it's going to be easier, not harder. Your body is going to be like, oh, yeah, we did this before. It's not that hard from what we were doing, because now you'll have built up the habits and you'll be able to get photo ready or wedding ready or whatever the case ready may be once again a lot easier. So those are my tips. You want to make big results happen as quickly as possible. That's what I recommend doing. Questions, reddeltaproject@gmail.com. Love hearing from you guys. Hit my book up. Fitness Independence paperback and Kindle versions are available on Amazon. And yes, book 2, Smart Bodyweight Training, is coming fairly soon. Waiting for the second proof, which should be in this week. And hopefully it won't be much more than a week after that. So there's the update on book number 2. And always, as thank you, I appreciate all the reviews on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. It helps me, helps the podcast, helps RDP, good karma coming your way. And it also helps other people find this information as well. And if you find it helpful, others will as well. I'll talk to you guys next week. Till then, be fit, live free.